Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews. Today we are going to take a look at another one of these Jurassic World Live Tour figures. These are exclusive, as I said in the Velociraptor Blue and the Triceratops review, that these are exclusive to the Jurassic World Live Tour. So if you want to get any of these figures, you have to head to the live tour and actually pick them up for yourself there at the merchandise stand. And I definitely recommend not only buying these figures, but of course checking out the actual show, because the show is fantastic. So this one here is the Stegosaurus, and it's actually probably my favorite out of all of the Jurassic World Live Tour figures, because I think the sculpt is really close to probably the Stegosaurus from the Lost World, and I think it looks fantastic because of it. I don't think the paint scheme so much matches any of the Jurassic films, actually. It's, green, so you've got that going for you, but other than that, there's really not too much of a similarity between this and any of the film version Stegosaurs. The Jurassic World and Fallen Kingdom versions kind of have like a bunch of yellow that kind of goes through the plates, and then yellow in the stomach region. And in the Lost World, it had like white here on the stomach region and the lower part of the body, and the plates were brown. But here on this version, you can see the plates are actually a different shade of green, and then have kind of like a light green that litters through the plates, which does actually look really cool. It's a pretty cool paint scheme that they've gone with here, but it's just not really something that's faithful to any of the Jurassic films. However, it still looks really cool, and I'm psyched to look at it up close with you guys, so let's do that right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt, you can see that the head sculpt really beautifully resembles a Jurassic World Stegosaurus, or a Jurassic Park, I guess you could say, Lost World Jurassic Park Stegosaurus. They did a very good job on the overall detailing of the head as well. Really beautiful skin texture up there, and you can see that primarily the body is a green, but then there's like this very dark green that's kind of been washed underneath the green, and I think it was a nice choice on their part because of the fact that you're not going to get anything that's extremely detailed, beautifully painted to look perfectly like a high quality model or anything like that at the show. It's just some kind of really cool toy that they put out for us to buy and collect, and I think that for what it is, it definitely looks really good. With a repaint, it could look really quite incredible. You can see that the eyes are painted with a yellowish color, and then they've got a black pupil and a nice little white spot there to kind of insinuate like real eye shine and glare off of the eyes, even though the eyes don't actually have a gloss coat. But both eyes are painted pretty nicely, I will say that. You've got the beak there at the end of the mouth that does change to like a light grayish color. The inside is a really nice pink, very realistic potentially coloration, and you can see that the teeth are actually painted inside the mouth, which that little detail there is actually quite impressive to me. I'm really blown away by the fact that they did paint the teeth, so there was some care definitely put into these figures. I just feel like the overall paint on all of them pretty much is pretty lackluster, but the detailing and everything does look pretty darn nice, and there are some areas that are pretty impressive with the paint, like the teeth inside the mouth there. As you head back here past the head, you can see the ears right there. Really nice scaling as you come back into the neck. Beautiful skin texture, and you can see the plates start to pick up there, and you can see that in the plates there is actually some decent sculpt and detail as well. And like I said, it's that nice variation of green with like a light green that kind of litters throughout, and it does look pretty natural. I will say that they did a good job on the paint application of the plates. If you get to right about here, you can see that the front legs are extremely muscular on the Stegosaurus. Really quite jacked, I will say that. Beautiful detailing and sculpt as you lead down the legs. You've got the really nicely painted nails there. There's no sloppiness with those anywhere. And the paint application on these seems to be done very carefully, so that's a plus. There's not really anywhere on any of them that I've seen that's been sloppy, so that is definitely a really cool aspect about these, even though the paint application isn't really that great as far as like color tones and really kind of matching up to the screen accurate dinosaur. The paint application that is applied is put on quite carefully, so they did try to give you what appears to be the best possible product, just using the most minimal amount of paint, I guess. You can really pick up on that wash pretty much everywhere that is on the body. Nice wrinkles here in the wrist of the front leg, beautiful creases there in the joint of the front leg as well. Then you've got the elbow back there, which looks really cool. Really beautiful skin texture, and due to that dark wash here in the stomach region, you can really pick up on just how incredibly nice the skin texture is of the Stegosaurus, and then up here you can really see some very nice large scaling going on, and every scale appears to look different from the other, so that's really beautiful sculpt work for sure. Nice wrinkling going on right here in the crease here of the hip area where the leg kind of connects to the body, the base of the leg. You can see kind of like a seam that runs through here. I assume that that's where that part of the body was connected. It's a little distracting, but honestly, once you get a little bit further away, you don't notice it too much, so I don't really mind it. You can see the skin kind of stretching off of the body here as this leg is pulling back and stretching that skin. Really nice muscle tone again, and the skin texture looks fantastic even back here on the leg. I really do love these big scales up here. And then you come down here into the lower part of the leg, you can see the kneecap there. Really nice calf muscles, beautifully sculpted foot, and beautifully painted nails once again. Really nice creasing right there in the front of the leg and the ankle back here as well. And then the skin texture looks great the entire way out the tail, and that dark wash brings out the detail really beautifully. Nice spikes here at the end of the tail that are painted with a different type of a coloration than what you see primarily all over the body. I think it's the same color actually that you see up here on the beak of the Stegosaurus. It's kind of like a light creamy color back here for the spikes. You can see that primarily they are kind of smooth, but as you turn it you can pick up on some detailing, just not too much, and they're clearly not very sharp at all. They're very, very dull, making them perfectly safe for children. If you are going to the show and you want to buy these figures for your kids, they're also very soft, very flexible, which is a plus as far as playability goes, but they're also not going to hurt anyone, which is always good news. Again, if you are buying it for your kid. If you look on this side, the detailing of the head and everything looks great, if my camera would focus. You can see it definitely looks good on both sides. Really, really well done skin texture. I actually quite love the top of the head because that really looks great in comparison to what the Stegosaurus actually does look like. You can even see up here from the top, the aerial view, the plates look really, really nice. I almost wish I had purchased two of these just to give one a repaint to look actually like the Jurassic Park Stegosaurus. Once again, on this side, you can pick up on the very large muscles here of the body. You can see the shoulder blade come up into the body there as well. The elbow again, and the feet are sculpted and painted beautifully on this side. You can really see the nails. Everything kind of has a glossy type of a look to it, which is a little bit weird. I don't think the Stegosaurus had a glossy look at all in any of the films, and I personally am not a huge fan of a glossy look on a dinosaur. Once in a while, when you get that lucky figure that it somehow does look good on, but the Stegosaurus not so much. I would have definitely preferred it not had the gloss look to it. You can see the really cool Jurassic World logo down there on the bottom of the foot. Nice wrinkling going on right here in the rear of the front leg. Beautiful skin texture once again here all throughout the body. It looks incredible. It looks very similar though to the previous side. Same style of wrinkling right here in front of the hip. The skin texture is just brought out so incredibly well due to that dark wash. I'm really happy that they chose to give it that wash because I think that even though the paint isn't exactly what you see in either of the films, but I think the wash brought out the detail beautifully and makes the figure actually look a good bit better than it would have had it not had that wash. Really beautiful appearance to it in my opinion. You can see the feet down here, really nicely painted nails on the rear leg as well. And again, there's just a ton of detailing put into the overall skin texture of the figure. And you can see up here I actually get a good idea of how nicely done the plates look. The plates definitely have a really beautiful appearance as far as the sculpt and detail. Because of them being glossy, it's almost a little hard to pick up on just how nice that sculpt and detail is, but you can get a good idea also of how nicely done that paint application is. I really do actually quite like the way they painted the plates. Even if it's not screen accurate, it does still look really, really cool. And then as you come back here, you can see just a ton of skin stretching and everything as the tail is turning to the dinosaur's left. You can see it's pulling the skin, really, really stretching it. They did show that movement here really beautifully in the sculpt. As you run out the length of the tail, you can see kind of the skin stretching all over the place. That does look really, really good, and that beautiful wash helps to show you that even better here. You can see the underside also sports some really, really nice detailing all over the place. Beautiful skin stretching and everything on the undersides of the legs. So the Stegosaurus itself, even though it's not screen accurate as far as the paint goes, the sculpt looks really close to what we do see in the films, and I think overall the figure is really well done. If there's one dinosaur that I feel like has really been overlooked in the Jurassic Park and Jurassic World franchise, I really think it's the Stegosaurus because it really doesn't get as much love as it should. It's a beautiful animal, and an even more beautiful animal in the films because it really has a very beautiful, majestic appearance to it. And I think that the fact that we've gotten such a lack of Stegosaurus figures that are kind of Jurassic Park or Jurassic World based is kind of a travesty. Even these companies that are making Jurassic World influenced type dinosaurs like Nanmu and W Dragon, all these companies like that, they don't even have a Stegosaurus. For some reason, it's actually the herbivores in general kind of get skipped out on. They always go for the predators, and I can understand that teeth kind of bring in customers, but I personally would love to start seeing some of the herbivores get made, and specifically Stegosaurus, because it's such an incredibly awesome looking dinosaur, and the fact that the Jurassic World Live Tour did have a figure of it has me beyond excited. I think the only other one really, besides of course like the Jurassic World toy line from like Mattel, would have been Chronicle Collectibles, and theirs turned out decent, but not really that great. Again, it did look a lot more screen accurate than this guy, but considering this one's only about $22, this is a steal for a beautiful Jurassic Park or Jurassic World influenced Stegosaurus. But for a size, to give you a good idea of the fact that this is a pretty big figure, for a length you're looking at about 10.5 inches or around 27 centimeters, somewhere in that range, and for a height about 5.5 inches or about 13.5, actually closer to 14 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, and you can see next to this Stegosaurus that the Papo T-Rex actually looks pretty small. The Stegosaurus definitely, now that's a terrible way to view this guy, but the Stegosaurus definitely has some really good size to him, and next to the Papo Rex you should be able to get a pretty good idea of that. This Stegosaurus is definitely no small figure, that is for sure. The Papo Rex being pretty big himself and kind of looking pretty small. I don't know if I'd say small, but he's definitely smaller than this Stegosaurus. Shows you just the true impressive size of these Jurassic World Live Tour figures. So as I said near the beginning of the review, this Jurassic World Live Tour Stegosaurus is probably my favorite out of the 4 figures that they did have at the show. It's just probably because it's so cool to have a Stegosaurus based on the Jurassic World version, and we don't really get that very often, like I said, so I was super psyched to have one. And the overall sculpt, I feel like, is so spot on to the film version that it just makes it so much better than the others, because with the Triceratops, he kind of had a little bit too long of a tail. Blue kind of had a little bit too long of a tail, and you haven't seen the T-Rex yet, but we'll get there when we get there. So out of the proportions of the figures, I really feel like this is the one that is the most well proportioned, along with really looking beautifully accurate as far as the sculpt goes to the film versions of those dinosaurs, especially the Lost World. I feel like it really has more of a Lost World look to it. Again, the paint job does not look at all like any of the films. None of them had this style of paint, but I think that it's a really cool looking paint scheme that they've gone with. It's fairly boring, I guess some might say, just because it's mostly green and it's just many different variations of green throughout, like the dark wash, and then you've got that lighter green, which I am quite a fan of on this figure, and then you've got 2 different variations of greens up on the plates, but I still think that it does look really, really cool, and the plates do help to give it a somewhat flashy appearance on an otherwise very boring looking paint scheme for the most part when it comes to all being green. But I think they did do a really good job with what they had when it comes to the paint application. Again, it's nothing like you would get from like Papo or Safari LTD or anything, but it's still a really cool and a very soft feeling Stegosaurus figure based on the Jurassic Park or Jurassic World versions. Like I said, very soft in comparison to like a National Geographic figure or a Recur figure. There's 3 that are kind of soft in this line, and then you had Blue, which was a totally different type of material, much harder and not soft like these, which it's really cool to have them soft like this as well, especially if you're going to the show with your kids and you want to buy your kids a figure, because these are the type of thing that they could definitely play with and nobody's going to get hurt with. You can really see that shine through right there on the spikes of the Stegosaurus, as they are incredibly dull looking for the most part as far as the tips of the spikes. But honestly, this Stegosaurus is absolutely beautiful, and if you are going to the Jurassic World Live Tour, I highly recommend picking this up, especially because once the tour is over, these will become incredibly rare, incredibly sought after, so just on the collectability alone they are worth picking up, but it also helps to the fact that they are really well done figures. So again, if you want to pick this up, make sure you head to the Jurassic World Live Tour, buy this there at the merchandise stand, but before you run off to the tour, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.